Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
O Hrishikesh, master of the senses and lord of lords, you have released your mother, Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa, and me and my children, from a series of constant dangers. Okay, so please read this in Tamil. The purport given by Srila Prabhupada reflects the mood of Queen Kunti as expressed in these prayers. It is a completely different attitude to life than that of the materialists. Materialists can be divided into two sections, the pious and the sinful. Tu bhuto sarge lokesmin daiva asura evacha Vishnu bhakta smrito daiva asuras tadviparyayaha. There are two kinds of people in this world. One is called the Deva. They are devotees of Vishnu. And the other is called the Asura, whose attitude is completely opposite. They don't like to worship Vishnu. Sometimes the materialists also apparently worship Vishnu, but they do so without accepting him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Particularly there is the system established by Sripad Shankaracharya of Panchopasana, in which Surya, Ganesh, Shiva, Shakti and Vishnu are worshipped. Shiva and Shakti. Shakti means Amma in this part of the world. Devi. So, in this system, Vishnu is conceived of as being one of the gods. So if we consider Vishnu as just another of the gods, our worship of Vishnu is demoniac. Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahmarudradri Daivatai Samatvainaiva Viksheta Sapashandi Bhavadruvam. One who considers Narayan equal to demigods, even demigods of the level of Shiva and Brahma, such a person is considered a Pashandi or an infidel. Jarasandha used to worship Lord Vishnu. But when Vishnu personally came before him, he came to attack Vishnu, Krishna, to try to kill him. So, worship of Vishnu, real worship of Vishnu means to accept him as the Supreme Lord. Those who are demons, they deny the existence of any Supreme Lord, or they may accept someone apart from Vishnu as the Supreme Lord. For instance, if they accept Shiva as the Supreme Lord, that is also demoniac. There are many demons in history who worship Lord Shiva, and taking boons from him, they acted in a most demoniac manner. Just like Vikasa took a boon from Lord Shiva and wanted to use it to kill Lord Shiva. And Ravana, taking boons from Lord Shiva, he lived up to his name, which means he who makes everyone cry. Ravanan. He's respectable. No, but that means to give respect, doesn't it? If you put na at the end, no? Oh, I was told like that. You have to put na at the end to give. Alright, go on. So, in one way they accepted that there is a Supreme Lord, but at the same time, there's no real question of bhakti to Lord Shiva. Even among the various schools of Shaivism, there are those who appear to be practicing bhakti parallel to that of Vaishnavas. But that bhakti can never be considered proper bhakti, because Jivesvarupoi Krishna Nityadas, the constitutional position of the jiva is to serve Krishna. So, this idea that you can conceive God in any form you like is not godly, it's demoniac, because it avoids accepting the supremacy of Lord Vishnu. So, demoniac materialists, they either deny the existence of the Supreme Lord, or deny, or they may theoretically accept the existence of the Supreme Lord, but deny that Lord Vishnu is the sole personality of Godhead. And there is another class of materialists who accept Vishnu as the Supreme Lord and worship him. But their aim, they're not fully surrendered to him, nor do they aim to be. They're interested in enjoying this material world. They're called Sakam Bhaktas, those who have devotees with material desires. And pure devotees are Nishkam Bhaktas, or those who have no material desire. Their only desire is to serve Krishna. So these are the two kinds of people in this world. And beyond this world are the pure devotees. The Srimad Bhagavatam is especially meant for pure devotees. And the concepts of Srimad Bhagavatam are quite different from those in other scriptures or any philosophy or outlook in the world. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada states how danger and difficulty is very favorable for devotional service, because a pure devotee in difficulty more strongly takes shelter of Krishna. Kuntidevi prays, Vipada santu tassa shvat tatra tatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yatsat apuna bhava darshanam. She prays, let there be more and more difficulties. In the verse after the one we're reading today, she will list some of the difficulties that she and her sons have been exposed to. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanata Satsabhaya Vanavasa Krichati. She lists that there was Bhim, he was poisoned. Then we were put in the house made from shellac, which was burned. Then we had to face the Rakshasa Hidimba, who wanted to eat us all. Humiliation and complete overturning of our position in the Atsat Sabha, the gambling match, and the humiliation of Draupadi, and the difficulties of living in the forest. So she prays, Vipada Santu Sashashva, let there be more difficulties. Who prays like this? Vipada Santu. She prays that if there are more difficulties, then we'll remember you more. And by remembering and seeing you more, then we'll no longer have to see repeated birth and death. So a devotee's outlook is different to that of materialistic people. Once in his Grihastha life, Prabhupada got a telegram that the servant who had left in charge of his factory had absconded with all the money, and that he was left with a huge debt. Srila Prabhupada laughed, and he quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which was very much prominent in his life. Yasyaham anugrahanami harishe taddanang shanai. Harishe taddanang shanai. Tato dhanam tyajantyasa swajana dukkha dukkitam. He says, Lord Krishna tells that to those who I favor, I gradually take away all their wealth. Then seeing him indigent, bereft of money, his relatives abandon him. So he has no other shelter but Krishna. In one of Srila Prabhupada's prominent godbrothers, he was a young grihastha, but actually he wanted to join the Gauriya Math and be a full-time devotee. Then it just so happened that his young wife died, and shortly after that, his father had already died. Then his father died, his mother died, all in quick succession. And then he met one Gauriya Math sannyasi and told, I see all my family members are dying. So then he said, well, that's good, now you can join. And he said that, my two younger brothers, I have to see they're properly settled first. But the sannyasi said, don't wait, Krishna's given you enough chance. You might not get another chance. So he came and joined with his brothers crying behind him. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so revolutionary. Quite often he would forcibly take men out of family life. One he was a lecturer, a professor in the university, and he was a newly married man, and he was showing great interest in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's teachings. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left Dhaka, he took that young Grihastha with him, professor in the university, and he was a newly married man, and he was showing great interest in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's teachings. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left Dhaka, he took that young Grihastha with him. And by the time his family members found out and sent someone to the next place, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had already gone way back, a long way back to Mayapur, taking that young Grihastha with him. In the meantime, he got a telegram from one of the most prominent citizens of Dhaka, who was well known to him, saying that, well, please don't keep this young man with you, otherwise his family life will be very much disturbed. Just keep him there in Mayapur and we're sending someone to get him. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he didn't reply to the telegram. And he sent that young man off with a preaching party to a very remote place. In another case, there was a young man who he took a deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who wanted to worship in his home. And he was initiated by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he said that, actually I'm very much attached to my son who's called Gauradas. He's only 4 years old. And I want to train him as he grows older how to worship Lord Chaitanya. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that family attachment and bhakti do not go together well. He said there are millions of Gaurdases in this world. Gaurdases. Means there are so many young boys like that. Hinting that there may be so many children, but the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide guru is rarely achieved. As is stated in Sri Chaitanya Mangal. Pati janme janme shabi pita mata pai, Krishna Guru nahi mele bhaja hoyai. That in every birth, whether you're born as a cat, a dog, a sheep, a camel or whatever, everyone has a father and mother. But to get the opportunity to worship Guru and Krishna, that is very rare. So upon getting that opportunity, we should take it. So some days later, the same sannyasi who had taken that other young man out of family life, he came to this man's home and picked up the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu deity and said, he's coming with me. He said, but I'm supposed to worship him. So Maharaj said to him, okay, you come too. And that was the end of his family life. So it was a revolutionary approach. Our own Srila Prabhupada wasn't revolutionary in that sense. Sometimes he took young men out of family life, but in general he encouraged that Grihasthas, they should be responsible in their family life. Not that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was encouraging irresponsibility. He was pointing towards the highest responsibility. The point is that the necessity of surrendering to Krishna overrides all material considerations. Because bhakti is, by definition, above all material consideration. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. Bhakti means to serve through our senses the master of the senses, Hrishikesh, who serving him by giving up, going beyond all mundane designations. In this verse we're reading today also, Kuntidevi addresses Krishna as Hrishikesha. Yatha Hrishikesha kalena devaki kangsarudhat. How does it go? Kangsarudhat tichirang shucharpita. Vimochitahang chasahatmaja vipho tvayavanatena vimohor vipadganat. That just as you delivered Devaki from the difficulties of being imprisoned by Kamsa, so you have delivered myself and my family members from so many difficulties. She is praying to Hrishikesh, you are the master of the senses. So we are not praying to be freed from the material difficulties so that we can indulge our senses in material enjoyment. But we are praying that all of our senses may go towards you. It is natural that the senses react with the sense objects. There's no meaning of senses without interaction with a sense object. But devotees, they desire only to see, hear, taste, smell, feel, and think about Krishna. Kuntidevi prays, Tvayi mainanya vishaya matir matupate sakrit vitimodvahatadata gange vogamadhanvati. May my concentration, may my attention be upon you, Krishna. Just as the Ganga flows with very strong current towards the sea, so may my senses very strongly run towards you. May my eyes be attracted to see your beautiful form only. May my ears desire only to hear your glorification. May my sense of touch be perfected by touching your divine form only. May my tongue and the sense of taste only relish your prasadam. And may my smelling be smelling only those items offered to you. And may my mind, which is the center of all the senses, think of you only. Let all my senses be strongly attracted towards you. So this is the revolutionary message of Bhagavata. Revolutionary for the materialists, who, even if they're religious, they think that religion is meant for fulfilling our sense gratification. But Bhagavatam rejects this concept. Dharmasya hi apavargyasya nartho tayopakalpate. What's the next line? Nartasya dharmaikantasya kamo labhaya hi smritaha. That dharma is meant for apavarga, that is meant for the transcendental situation. Dharma should never be engaged in for sense gratification. And one who gains wealth should not use it for material gain, but should use it only for serving Krishna. So there's no teaching like this. Save that of Srimad Bhagavatam. The message of Shuddha Bhakti, which is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, is captured by Rupa Goswami. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnanakamadyanavritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhakti rutama. Pure devotional service is that which is free from any desire other than that to satisfy Krishna. And the degree to which this pure devotion develops is being presented here by Kuntidevi. Not only is she free from the desire for material enjoyment, but she actually desires suffering so that it will be conducive for her devotional advancement. So this is a completely different understanding, completely different level from that of even pious materialists or materialistic devotees. Materialistic devotees, they may even perform austerities, or they may in many ways appear to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. But we have to see if someone's actually doing it for Krishna or not. That's the test. Just like Kuntidevi, her only desire is that we should be serving Krishna. For a devotee to suffer material distress is the greatest pleasure if in doing so he has the opportunity to serve Krishna. And even if he can go to heaven and enjoy heavenly delights, that to him is like hell if there's no opportunity to serve Krishna. One who has adopted, one who has grasped this understanding within his heart, will, wherever he goes, be blissful in Krishna consciousness. Krishna's thoughts are only how to satisfy Krishna. Kuntidevi has shown how to act in a manner that is always satisfying to Krishna. Even in the worst difficulties, we should remember Krishna. And Krishna gives himself to devotees who have this attitude. This theme is repeatedly demonstrated in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the narrations, for instance, of Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, And especially the topmost example of all devotees, the gopis of Vrindavan. So this willingness to accept difficulties on behalf of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada said that this is the qualification for satisfying Krishna. And one who goes on serving Krishna despite so many difficulties is guaranteed to go back home, back to the spiritual world to serve Krishna. In the spiritual world there are no difficulties. There's only dancing with Krishna, singing with Krishna, swimming in the river Yamuna and different kunds of Vrindavan with Krishna. It is all bliss. So a devotee in this world experiences that bliss of Krishna consciousness. But he may do so while suffering so many difficulties. The nature of this material world is that it's full of difficulties. So a devotee who suffers all difficulties thinking that anyway I'm very sinful, I deserve much worse punishment, but Krishna just give me a little. And if the devotee thinks that actually I should suffer much worse difficulties, but Krishna is just giving me a little bit of what I deserve, then such a devotee, by this pure devotional attitude, is guaranteed by Krishna that he will come back to Godhead. As it's actually Lord Brahma states in Srimad Bhagavatam. Tetenu kampansu samikshamano bhunjana evatmakritang vipakang vidvagvapabhya vidadhan namaste jivoti yo mukti padesa daya bhak. One who goes on suffering the miseries of material life and thinks that anyway, this is ordained for me. He doesn't blame Krishna or blame anyone, but he simply accepts, all right, I have to go through this, but anyway, I have to serve. My real duty is to serve Krishna. So, this attitude, this is to be imbibed by devotees. As soon as there's some difficulty, we try to avoid it. That is not necessarily bad, inasmuch as if the difficulty inhibits our service to Krishna, then we should try to get free from that difficulty. Just like if in a building the tap is left open, then the tap is left open when there's no water, and then they turn the pump on, and then the tap is open and the water starts coming and the whole room starts flooding. Then we should turn the tap off and not think, oh, there's some difficulty, let's just accept it. We have to serve Krishna properly and nicely. By Srila Prabhupada's grace, his sadhus live much more comfortably than traditionally sadhus used to. But that Srila Prabhupada provided this facility so that we can serve Krishna, not so that we can sit back and enjoy a comfortable life. That was not at all his purpose. So all these things have to be understood in this perspective of the Srimad Bhagavatam's teachings. That we are not the enjoyers of this material world, but we should be prepared to serve Krishna in all circumstances. Materialistic people who believe in God, they often stop believing in Him when there's a lot of difficulty. They think, why is God giving me so much difficulty? But a pure devotee thinks, actually I deserve much more because I'm such a sinful person. But Krishna is only just giving me a little. He thinks, actually I should be suffering more. So let me just tolerate whatever difficulty is there. Such an attitude is so pleasing to Krishna that He marks that devotee, that this devotee is fully surrendered to me, and Krishna takes him back to Godhead. So let us all pray for the mercy of Krishna and know that we are more likely to achieve the full mercy of Krishna by taking by accepting various difficulties in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. The materialist tries to avoid difficulties. The devotee doesn't unnecessarily perform austerities, but if any difficulties arise in the course of his service, he's willing to accept that for the sake of serving Krishna. So just as Kuntidevi is praying to the Supreme Lord Krishna for His mercy, Let us pray to Kuntidevi for her mercy, so that we can understand and enter into, in our practical behavior, the truths which she is expressing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is there any question about this? You give him the mic, then he can say, so everyone can.
So he has been full time. He wants to serve us full time completely. So that we can manage some kind of relationship with our brothers or not.
For what?
With his brothers, so that he can manage some kind of relationship or not.
Yeah. Definitely you should maintain relationship with all your brothers. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is your brother. So you can see everyone as devotee of Krishna. And if someone has some special affection for you, thinking of you as his brother, you can use that affection to pull them into Krishna. Anything else?
And if somebody is worshipping demigod,
If
then he should be considered a demon.
Yeah, say it in Tamil. Well, generally, yes. They don't fall in the category of devotees. Of course, there are levels also. It doesn't mean that everyone who's worshipping Lord Shiva is as bad as Ravana. But it's definitely a very different mood to that of the Vaishnav mood. Just like when we were in Kanchi, you didn't even want to enter the temple of Ekambareshwar. What's it called? The Ekambareshwar temple? Ekambarnath. Because actually the mood is different. It's here in Tamil Nadu. There's traditionally been antipathy between the Vaishnavas and the Shaivas. Many non-devotees are pious in some sense also. They like when devotees go and chant in the streets. They appreciate that. So they may not be such big demons as Jarasandha and Ravana. But basically anyone who's not willing to surrender to Krishna, they're influenced by the demoniac propensity, that everyone in this material world. That doesn't mean that we should develop an inimical attitude towards everyone, otherwise we can't benefit them by bringing the message of Krishna to them. But we should understand that whatever degree is there in anyone of unwillingness to serve Krishna, that is the demoniac propensity, and that applies to us also. In Satsvarup Maharaj, he wrote a book with the title, "Are you a devotee or a demon?" We're putting on tilak and we're chanting. But what is our attitude actually? We have to see. We say we're devotees, but it's not so easy actually. Sometimes people may ask you, how long have you been a devotee? So I reply, well, I'm still trying to be a devotee. I don't say I'm a devotee. It's not an ordinary thing to be a devotee. We're praying for the mercy of the devotees that one day we can be devotees. So, anything else?
She asked, what are the three kinds of Vishnus? We are giving three. There are three Vishnus.
What do you mean? Karnadakshay, Gavadakshay?
What are the respective functions?
Well, it's a bit, it's not really anything to do with the class, so we'll leave that one for now.
She is asking that in this sloka, she is appreciating Krishna. You have saved many children. So in that sense, she is appreciating because Krishna has protected her children. But again, finally she says that just I am ready to take more and more suffering. So how do you understand? It seems that first he is also having some kind of material desire to protect her children. And finally it says,
well, her children are also pure devotees. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that I will see my own relatives, if they're not devotees, as non-relatives. But Kuntidevi also prayed that if she had any kind of material attachment to her family members, that may be cut. Sneha pasham imam chindi yurda pandashu vrishnashu.
Uttara also says the same thing. Yes. She is praying for the protection of Parikshit Maharaj. She is putting, I am praying to you because the child within the womb is a pure beauty. That's the reason I am praying. Class of the
This Vaishnava, he is not blaming anybody. That with understanding, if we will blame somebody, means finally we are blaming God. Because everything is sanctioned by God.
Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, everything is sanctioned. That's also to be understood properly. It doesn't mean he approves of people's sinful activities.
It means he is not blaming others. Just he is facing difficulties.
No, if you point out someone is doing something wrong, that may be there. But you also have to see what is our position to point out. Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, as having taken the service of Guru, it is my duty to find out the faults of others. But he said, he wrote to someone, but I don't see why you have taken on such an unwelcome task upon yourself. And then he quoted this, Parachorchake Goti, what is that? Kabuna Konokale. He said that one who is accustomed to fault finding and criticizing others, he says he can never achieve success in Krishna consciousness. That was a lot. You can try and translate all that. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai.